Welcome to another edition of Patriots No Huddle, brought to you by PatsFans.com. Mike Diabate, Steve Balistrieri, Derek Havens, as your host, as always. We are here to talk about the Week 4 victory of the Patriots hosting the Carolina Panthers and defeating them 42-13, bringing them to a 2-2 record. Guys, there's so much to unpack here, and we're going to dive right into it. A lot of little nuggets that I think are fascinating, and we'll get right into it. But Steve, first man, how you doing?
Good. It's been a long time since we had one of these type of games, right?
Yep.
To where the Patriots quarterback is being sat down in the fourth quarter because they're in a blowout win, not a blowout loss.
Exactly.
So it's been a long time. It was impressive to see special teams obviously led the way, but overall, I mean, Vrabel has to be granted. Okay, we're talking about the Carolina Panthers here, but he has to be really pleased with the way this game turned out.
Yeah, I don't care if it's the Carolina Panthers or not. You
From
know,
Foxborough High School, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they just haven't had a victory like this in a long time. In fact, the Patriots have put up 40 points at home for the first time since defeating the Jaguars 50-10, and that was in 2021. And by the way, that was also the same year they had five different players score a touchdown. Now they had six today because Matt Collins did that. So it's been 4 years since we've really seen a victory like this. Mike, had to be an exciting game for you to watch, as well. How are you doing today, bud?
I'm doing well. It's always great doing post-game shows where you win. Tomorrow is a victory Monday here in Foxborough, and it's a great feeling. The Patriots looked good in all three phases today, and I know we're going to break down each of the phases, but to me, the thing that's going to stand out the most from this win is listening to the guys after the game, listening to their post-game comments. This is a team that enjoys playing with each other. They enjoy playing together, and you got to credit Mike Vrabel and the coaching staff for bringing these guys together. There was a tough loss last week. A lot could have been fallen by the wayside, as a lot as I guess the best way for me to say it. There could have been, the mentality of 53 players and 53 limos, and guys all of a sudden start to give up when things get tough. These guys banded together. They knew they were coming in this week. They had to make a statement. They did it. Yeah, the Panthers are reeling, but you only play your competition on the field. You play who the
Yep.
schedule tells you to play, as Parcells would say. So Patriots did that today. They were expected to beat a team like this. They dominated them. I think that says a lot, and they're going to need a game like this going into a formidable matchup next week. Talk about that one down the line. Let's enjoy this one while we can.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if I'm pulling out the Red Auerbach cigar here in the second quarter, right after it's funny, I don't know exactly the point. I have to go back and kind of mark it down, but I mean, let's call it at least 50 minutes. The Patriots dominated this game, and to your point, the Panthers come out and they're coming out strong, and it was looking. I was a little frustrated with what I saw from the team in the first 6-7 minutes of gameplay. Then all of a sudden, the script flipped and they just took control. And something that you just said, Mike, was interesting because the Panthers players looked like they gave up towards the end. Like they could have called if it was Pee Wee football, flag football at the YMCA, they could have called that game at halftime if they really wanted to. I mean, there was nothing there. And we're going to break down all three phases of the game because I do think, you know, that was, interesting. And also, Mike, what you said about the coaching staff is that you can see why. I don't know if you both have seen the post game locker room from Patriots.com that they put out. Um, and anyone who's listening, uh, you know, if you've seen it, but you can see why players love playing for Mike Vrabel because he's making sure that he's talking to his players, talking them up. They leave the field. He's shaking their hands. He's dapping them up. He's encouraging them. He creates energy and he knows what it's like to be a player in the league. So he likes to elevate his guys and he really instills confidence in that whole thing. And I thought the defense, we'll get to that had a little shaky moments at times, but it was good to see Christian Gonzalez back out there. Drake May, I thought, played terrific today, as well as Stephon Diggs, who had his first 100-yard game in 24 games, and he looked terrific. And then special teams obviously was a big X factor. So we're going to dive into all that. But firstly, I just want to welcome anyone who's listening live, and for who are downloading later, please do subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and our PatsFans.com YouTube channel. It keeps us high in those podcast rankings so other Patriots fans can find us. Steve, before we break down each individual phase, and Mike, I'm going to go to you next. What is your biggest takeaway from this game?
Well, the biggest takeaway was, look, they had another slow start, but once the special teams gave them that boost, and that was the Marcus Jones,
that flipped the script, man.
And this game immediately turned into their favor, and they never looked back. And the one thing that I was worried about was, are they going to take their foot off the gas? Okay. They had a terrific first half. Okay. Then they came out in the second half, and I'm like, now, this is not the time to, let a team that's, you already have your foot on their throat, keep it going. And that's exactly what they did. They came out, took the opening kickoff, went right down, scored a touchdown. And I think that, again, they're still building this team. And I think two things: special teams really flipped the script. And, we talked about this several times last week, wrote about it a couple of different times. Moving Stephon Diggs into the slot, to me, changed the entire outlook of this offense. And we saw that today. Okay, you could say it's the Panthers. Well, guess what? Drake May looked to me, I think his passer rating was as close to the perfect rating that you can get today.
I'll look it up, but I think it was 155.6 or
right.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think 158.3 is as high as you can go in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, he was terrific. And to your point, Steve, to your point, the Patriots had a 4th and 3rd late in the game, up 29 points, and they went for it. And Drake May hit Stephon Diggs for that back shoulder fade for 30 yards.
Yep.
And that just shows you, to your point about them, you're worried about them keeping their, the foot on, the pedal, step on the throat, however you want to phrase it. They're going to go for it. And they were feeling themselves, and they were just like, you know what, we're putting this one away. We're going to make you, we're going to make you feel it.
Yeah, they didn't give Carolina any hope. And that was the thing. This game flipped immediately upon that, because the whole game changed right after that. Carolina's first drive, they went right down the field and scored, right? Patriots went 3 and out. And, you're thinking, oh boy, they don't need another slow start to the first quarter. Then it all changed. And after that, it was all Patriots until, garbage time when Andy Dalton came in. But, that game.
Yeah, that last touchdown, I didn't really care. Yeah. It was like, okay. Well, I mean, the game had been decided. I think everyone just wanted to go home.
Yeah, at that point, yeah. But, and again, I mean, I just think that this was, granted, they were expected to beat a Carolina team, but the way they went out and did it, I thought was really impressive. And these are the kind of games that they can build off of. And, looking at the offense now, the offense all of a sudden is getting big chunk plays, right? Yeah. Stephon Diggs had a couple. I mean, it was everybody. Austin Hooper, Hunter Henry, the running backs. Everybody was starting to chip in with these big chunk plays. And I think it all stems from the one change they made offensively, because now it's allowing you to get the playmakers the ball in their hands. And I think we're only scratching the surface what could happen later down the road with Kyle Williams.
I would say that Josh McDaniels was brilliant with play calling today. Now it comes down to execution. We've always talked about this, right, Steve? Like, and Mike, I'm going right back to you here in just a second. So, like, play calling is only so much until the players get on the field, and they have to be the ones to kind of push it through.
Exactly.
But I think Drake May is gaining confidence as he gets more experience. I think the team is getting more confident together. We talked about how many starters changed, how much the rosters turned over, getting used to a coaching staff. One of your biggest head coaches in Terrell Williams, your defensive coordinator, dealing with prostate cancer, not around. This was a kind of a circle the wagons type win. I wouldn't call it a must win, but I think this is a game that instills confidence in a young team that propels you forward. And I know it's going to be a tough matchup against the Bills, which we'll talk about on Wednesday. We're not going to focus on that right now. But Mike, before we start breaking down the special team stuff, man, what was your biggest takeaway? Unless you align perfectly with Steve.
Yeah, I really kind of align pretty well with Steve right now. But just as an offshoot, I think what today proved is that if there is still anyone that is on the fence about Drake May being the guy, go back and watch this game. I don't think there's any need for anyone to feel that way any longer. This was a complete team effort. We're going to get into special teams, defense, offense in just a little bit. But Drake's performance solid, 14 of 17, 203 yards, 2 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. Um, but I thought overall he protected the football well, did not turn the ball over, showcased his ability. He can rush for the first down when you need him to. All over the field, he utilized his pass catchers to get the win. And I think that's a big factor here. And the one thing that I kept coming back to in the notes that I was making while I was watching this game, the game is slowing down for Drake May. And that is bad news for opposing teams, starting with the Buffalo Bills this week coming up. But Drake May right now is seeing the field extremely well. He's playing with confidence. Dare I say, maybe the chip's starting to form on his shoulder a little bit, and he's starting to get that swagger that a starting quarterback needs to be successful in this league. If I'm the New England Patriots, I'm very pleased by what I saw from Drake today. And everybody on that offense fed off of his energy, and you can just see it start to build. So there's still a ways to go. This team is not going to go out and compete for a Super Bowl tomorrow, but they're going to
No.
be in every game, I think, that they play from here on in, unless something catastrophic happens or unless there's a breakdown. This team is not a team that's going to be routinely blown out because there's just too much talent in all three phases. And you saw what can happen when they put that all together.
I think that something you just said, Mike, was kind of caught my ear. And I do want to start with special teams, but I just want to make one comment about this. I thought that Drake May, I think he essentially, it was just most impressive, and I'm excited to go back and watch the game to see it. But his decision making was, I mean, just perfect. I mean, he knew when to tuck and run. He knew when to slide. He was trying to protect himself. I mean, he took one or two big hits, but he's a big dude and he wants to go for it. But him running in, his ball placement. He had probably 2 or 3 throws I'm sure he'd like to have back, but I thought his execution and his confidence just came right through watching live. And man, he is really coming to his own. There is no doubt that Drake May is going to be this quarter. And, again, unless you said something catastrophic happens, there is no doubt he's going to be the franchise quarterback for the next decade plus. I mean, he's everything that we were hoping he would be. And Quig, thanks for chiming in, man. I hope you are doing well. He says great play by the O-line today. We're going to get to that when we get to the offense. But gentlemen, let's start with special teams. Okay. Steve, I'll go to you first. With special teams, it's always, I tweeted this out during the game. It's funny. Special teams only doesn't matter till it matters the most. So no one
That's a
cares to
good
talk.
man.
No one cares to talk about special teams until your kicker misses the last game thing, or someone like Marcus Jones, to your point, flips the script. And literally, you could feel the momentum through the TV. You could feel it flip. And Marcus, Uh, he has his limitations as a corner. I think he's still a good corner. I think in terms of like for what he is, kind of like a nickel slot corner, kind of like your third or fourth guy. Like I think he still adds value to there, but I think um, sorry, I was looking for. Sorry, I was trying to find a stat. Okay, just found it. Bad podcasting. My fault. I just think he brings so much value, and you can tell by the post game uh, locker room thing that the Patriots aired that how much the team rallies around him and appreciates him. And I thought him, Brendan Schooler, Bryce Behringer, Borgalis. I mean, they were all stellar today, and it really set the tone. And Marcus Jones had 167 yards of punt returns today. I was convinced one of the last punt, if it, I don't know if it was the last one, but I think it was the last punt return that he had. I was convinced he was taking it to the house because sometimes you just have it. And 167 punt return yards are the most by a Patriots player in franchise history. It breaks Mike Haynes' old record of 156, set back almost 50 years ago, November 7th of
I remember that
1976.
game. I
I'm sure you
remember,
do.
and I'm here to tell
I
you
was negative
that
14.
yeah, that game with Mike Haynes was incredible, and it was like one of those things when it happened that you're like, well, this is something you'll probably never see again. And granted, it took 50 years, but you know, Jones bettered that
Yep.
by 11 more yards,
Yep.
and I mean, it was in. He just had an incredible day, and this is against a team. Mike Vrabel was raving about the Carolina special teams. Prior to the game, so that
Man, their
has.
punter, their punter and kicker, Steve, better not buy green bananas, buddy.
Oh
Those
boy,
they
not
did. They
today.
had a rough one. Okay.
They had, yeah, their crew had a very rough day today. I wouldn't want to be in the film room when those guys go back over this game. But again, I mean, you look at that, especially that first one. It looked like they might have him, pinned down deep, and he made that first guy miss, and then all of a sudden there was nothing but a sea of blue shirts.
Oh,
You
and
know,
that was crazy. To your point, not to cut you off, but like he makes one guy miss. He kind of like changes direction, like does like a little like kind of flips his hips, and then he's shooting up that left sideline. And and I thought the as impressive as his run was, I thought one of the most impressive things that maybe some people won't bring up is that like it felt like everybody was in front of him. Like it was just like you said, it was a sea of blue, and
yes.
you had no doubt he was taking it to the house. And if he hadn't gotten tripped on the other one, he would have had another
Oh,
touchdown.
yeah,
Uh,
that punter saved a second one. I
oh yeah.
mean, I didn't think he was going to get it done. I mean, he got him just by the shoestring, but I mean, and that one he nearly took to the house again. And those are the kind of things that, you know, do you as a team that you're trying to build yourself up and build yourself into a winner. There's going to be games when you're struggling, and you might need that extra little oomph. And you know we've seen Jones be able to do that, and he's done that several times in his career now. And this was a really big day for him. I know that he's not going to be buying any drinks tonight.
Yeah, no, he certainly won't be. If we go back to the Brady and Belichick era when they were firing at all cylinders, what was the quintessential phrase? You know, um, it's basically like complimentary football, and that's what you got today. You had literally everybody on all sides of the ball just helping each other. Mike, I have a question for you, but if you would like to share anything on Marcus Jones, feel free before I do that.
Well, I think everything has been essentially covered on Jones. And, just to me, I think one of the great things about watching him today is watching what type of catalyst this special teams unit has been for this team this year. Go back to a couple of weeks ago against Miami. Antonio Gibson's 90-yard kickoff return for a touchdown sparks this team, gets them going, and they're a different ball club. When that special teams unit is firing and they're causing, the other team, headaches on the opposite end of the spectrum, it leads to some great things. And this team scored 42 points, the most points that they've scored since they did it against Jacksonville back in January of 2022. That was a 50-10 victory. This is exactly what they needed, and this special teams unit continue to be a strong unit for this club, and really, I think one of the springboards for them to have success. Tip of the cap to Brendan Schooler again. He had 3 special teams tackles today. That's huge for this team. Shows that they're not only getting the job done when it comes to, the specialists, they're getting the job done when it comes to the coverage units and the tackles as well. And Steve, it's funny you mentioned Mike Haynes in that game back in 1976. Well, the gentleman that's in third place on that list is someone who's very near and dear to my heart. My guy, Gunnar Olszewski, did it against the LA Chargers, December 6th, 2020. 145 return yards that season as well. So in great company is Marcus Jones, but he sits alone on the top.
So it's funny that you mentioned Brendan Schooler because I thought that, I mean, Behringer is kind of, from a punting standpoint, he's kind of, I would say, erratic. I don't know if you guys would agree with that. Like sometimes he kind of outkicks his coverage or, booms it a little too far because we know he has the leg. But that play where he punted the ball and Schooler made a terrific tackle that pinned the
Yes.
Panthers very close to the goal line is so underrated also in this game because that put them in just such a terrible spot. Carolina, I mean, was put in a terrible spot. I thought that punt and I mean, that's like textbook special teams, like the perfect punt and the perfect coverage, great tackling. I mean, you couldn't ask for more than that, Mike. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely, without any question. And again, I think it comes back to complementary play. And I'm giving a lot of love and throwing a lot of laurels at the coaching staff today, and they deserve it. Jeremy Springer obviously deserves an awful lot of credit for the job he's done with this team. The special teams unit is
Agree.
much more disciplined. We saw sprigs of it last year, and it really is coming to fruition this year in great ways. And that unit right now is such a big reason why the New England Patriots sit at 2-2 right now, and they're looking like a team that might give the Buffalo Bills a game next week. And I think that special teams unit deserves an awful lot of credit for that. This was a big game for the coaching staff. Derek, you mentioned this earlier about Terrell Williams and all the guys coming out wearing the T-Strong T-shirts and the blue ribbon for symbolizing prostate cancer. This team is not, and Mike Vrabel is not a win one for the Gipper type coach. He's not, going to give you that big rah rah speech, but he is going to let you know that there are more important things than football. And sometimes those more important things can be such a motivational factor that they really do come into your consciousness when you're playing this game in ways that you never imagined. So I think they got a huge spiritual lift today from all of that. This special teams unit continues to impress me. Getting back to Jeremy Springer and his unit, they deserve a lot of credit for this win today.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right for giving Springer a ton of credit. I would say the biggest thing, guys. I don't know how you feel about this, but to me, my biggest question on special teams, and we're going a long time on special teams, but they deserve it today. I mean that was a huge factor. But my biggest thing is, Andres Borgelos. I think he's the biggest question mark. What's his consistency? He was able. I think you just when you're a kicker, when you're a cornerback, you know, just there are certain positions. I mean, I guess I would say for every position, I should say, but like especially for a kicker, it's like you really just sometimes you just need to see the ball go through but the field goal posts. And I thought with him, kind of maximizing his opportunities, Mike, I thought that it was impressive for for him. And I'm hoping that it only kind of encourages him to have that confidence moving forward, because if he has the leg, he has the talent. It's just about, kind of learning the speed of the league and everything else.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. I think right now, when you're looking at someone like an Andres Bargalas, who absolutely does have the pedigree, the resume, and the leg to be able to do what needs to be done, I think right now, the more games that you can put under your belt without any egregious mistakes, get this, special teams, unit talked about in a way that really is positive, that takes some of the pressure off some of the struggles that you've had. So I think that's going to help him. I think the Patriots recognize that. I think a lot of people need to remember this is a rookie. He's 4 games into his NFL career. There are going to be ups and downs. He's going to struggle. But at the end of the day, I think this kid has what it takes to be a solid enough kicker for the Patriots to warrant what they've invested in him in draft capital. So I wouldn't worry too much about Andres. Next couple of weeks, I think, are going to be big. This game coming up in Buffalo is going to be a big game for him. That's not an easy stadium to kick in. If he gets the opportunity and makes a couple up there, all of a sudden the monkey's off your back and you're sitting there and you're saying, hey, you know what? I went into the frozen tundra in Western New York and I did what a lot of people can't do, and that's kick well in Buffalo, New York. If he can do that, solid tip of the cap. If he can't, the questions are going to start rumbling again. So it's just as simple as that right now. I think he just needs to keep his focus, try to regulate his emotions, and I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, I totally agree. Steve, do you want to talk offense or defense next?
Let's talk about the defense.
All right, so I'll say this: the first few minutes of the game, I would say that I thought the tackling was poor, and that's been something that I think is kind of a multiple layered situation, and I'll explain. Um, I thought the tackling was really poor, and I think that has to do with the limited contact that the players get to have during training camp and the preseason. Just given the limited reps in the games of preseason, and then what they're allowed to do and not allowed to do, and worrying about injuries and everything else. And I think it usually gets better as the season goes along, but I thought the tackling was really poor, and I thought the linebacker play was really poor. Christian Ellis was benched at one point for Jack Gibbons. He came in, made a couple of plays. Jalen Hawkins leads the game with a injury that I don't think is major. Del Pettis made 1 or 2 plays in the game. I thought it was huge that Christian Gonzalez was able to return from his hamstring injury and play throughout the game with no restrictions. And Milton Williams, Christian Barmore just continued to be a force up front in the middle. I would agree with Quig, who chimes in again, that I think Jack Gibbons should be starting over Ellis. I think Ellis is more of a rotational player to me. But Steve, the defense
Gibbons
really
led the
came.
team with 12 tackles today.
Yeah, he was all over the field, and his speed and his athleticism, shined through. So that would be my biggest takeaway from the team. Carlton Davis obviously banged up. We'll find out exactly. Oh man, Quig, you're on fire right now. Yeah, and Tonga has been. I mean, he's exceeded my expectations. I really didn't think he'd be as active as he has, but you have Tonga, Barmore, and Williams, and then Caleb Von Chason and Harold Landry, and man, that's a line with speed and power and strength, and it's exciting. You can see where it's going to build to. So I don't know, Steve. I'll let you go with whatever you want, but those would be my biggest takeaways from the defense. They really tightened up, and they really did a good job of putting the Panthers behind the sticks and putting them in, long, late down and distant situations.
Right. And look, the game started, they got off to a slow start. We see that.
Yep.
Went down, Panthers went down and scored. They didn't score again until the end of the football game. And after that, I mean, Young started off like a house on fire, right? That first drive, he was 6 for 6 for 71 yards.
Yep.
After that, they did a much better job of taking stuff away, forcing him off his spot, forcing him to get rid of the football. and bringing pressure up the middle. They only had that one sack, but at the same time, the pressure was there, and you saw it, taking effect on the Panthers' offense, which really, after that initial drive, they really did nothing for the rest of the game. And I think that you have to take your hat off to the defense. They stepped up. They made the changes they needed to make. Um, they actually gave up 100 yards rushing for the first time this year. I thought the Panthers ran the ball fairly well.
Yep.
They had some chunk runs mixed in there, but overall, the Patriots, when you're blowing a team out like that, you're going to allow them to get that 10 or 15-yard chunk
Yeah,
run.
I mean, go ahead. You
Because
want to you're
yeah,
down by multiple scores. You want to run
yeah,
the ball?
exactly.
Go for it.
So yeah, if that's the case, then yeah, they'll live with that all game long. When you're in a blowout situation like that, but I really liked the way. I mean, and again, it's one change, but it makes everything snowball. You get Christian Gonzalez back, and all of a sudden the secondary now you get all your pieces there, right? And they had some breakdowns. Um, things are going to have to be tightened up, and that's. I mean, we're only 4 games in. They have a lot of new moving pieces. Um, your rookie safety got burnt for a touchdown early in the game. I think it was either him or Marcus Jones that got beat for that last touchdown. But again, there's a lot of moving parts there. You're without your defensive coordinator, and you held that team 6 points until final whatever it was, 2 minutes left in the game. So
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Bryce Young, you said 6 for 6 on that opening drive. He finished 18 for 30. So essentially, after that first opening drive, he was 12 for 24, 50% completion percentage. Whatever they saw, the Patriots coaching
yeah,
staff, I mean,
right,
saw
and
after that opening
yeah,
drive, the adjustments were critical.
and that 12 for 24 was for 80 yards. Think about that.
Yes. Yep.
So he was averaging a little uh, under 4 yards per pass after that initial drive. And again, that's if you're the defensive coordinator and you're looking at the overall scheme of things, you'll live with that. Because if a team's only averaging about 4 yards per pass, then you're doing a lot of things right. And I was happy to see that with the defense. And again, they're not a finished product by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
But I liked what I saw. The linebackers, later once they made some changes, and Ellis did come back and play. I mean,
Yeah.
he wasn't benched completely, but I liked what I saw with Gibbons on the field. I thought him and Spillane again were all over the place. They combined for 22 tackles. Those are the kind of things you're looking for in your linebacking crew, and I think they put their foot down and kept Carolina exactly where they needed to be. And overall, I think they have to be pleased with the defensive effort today.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike, I don't know if you want to chip in or chime in here, but I mean, look, I think the only negative thing about the defense today was the slow start and that Carlton Davis went down with an injury because I don't really love the depth at cornerback totally. And that would be a bummer to lose him because he does help you with some matchups. And, when I said that Ellis was benched, you're right, Steve, that he did come back. He did come back into the game, but it was on a rotational basis, and
Yeah,
Gibbons made an impact. So he was just
and
taken out
Jelani
and kind of
Tavai,
replaced. And
Jelani Tavai is eligible to come back off of the his injury
yeah,
next week.
yep. So there will be we'll see if he's ready to come back.
Yeah,
I'm
and
sure we'll hear
we'll
something
see
about that this week.
if he's going to fit into the system of how they want to play, and I think
I mean,
that's going to be
he wouldn't be here flat out, Steve, if they didn't think, if the coaching staff didn't think that he would
I'm
be a fit.
curious.
Yeah, I'm curious too. I mean, Mike, what's your take on the defense, man?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think it's a tale of two situations where you look at the opening drive and all of a sudden things weren't looking so good. And then, you look at the end and that garbage time, trivial time, touchdown, and you say, okay, well, yeah, there was maybe a moment where the safety did miss coverage. I don't really look at anything concerning out of that final touchdown. I think that was, like you guys said, just
No,
basically a
Garbage
gimme
time.
at that point. You don't really hold that against anyone. But what this team did, and I wrote about this in my post game recap for SI, they put a decisive lid on the Panthers' offense effectiveness when they needed to do it. They pitched a shutout when they had to pitch a shutout. The next four drives after that opening drive, Patriots forced the punt on every single one of them. They took a 28-6 lead in the halftime. The Patriots of 2024, the Patriots of 2023, those teams probably cough up about 14 points in that third quarter before the team started to clamp down and say, oh, God, yeah, we really got to get back into this thing and reestablish our lead. They didn't do that. They forced a turnover on downs. And I think that, to me, said all it needed to say about this team's willingness to keep your foot on the accelerator, Steve, like you said earlier. Milton Williams continues to look like a phenomenal pickup for this team. He's changed the complexity of the way he and Christian Barmore are able to put pressure. That's a nightmare for opposing offenses. And Jack Gibbons. I think we need to see more of Jack today, leading the team in tackles. He had one for a loss. I think he's starting to show that his knowledge of a Mike Vrabel system makes him a very valuable asset in this defense. He called him Dr. Gibby for a reason. There's a reason why he earned that nickname. It wasn't just because Vrabel wanted to be funny. He wanted to show that this kid does have an understanding of the playbook, and you saw that today. Spillane continues to get better. He looks more comfortable. So yeah, there's a lot to like about this defense. They're only going to grow from here. I was impressed by what I saw from Gonzalez today. Obviously, the comeback route that he allowed to Ted McMillan early on. A lot of people were wondering, oh, is he missing a step? He locked down and held Ted pretty well in check for the rest of the game. Carlton Davis is a concern. Is he going to be out for a period of time? Do the Patriots catch a break here and maybe he only misses a week, or maybe he doesn't miss any time at all? But he is a physical corner on the opposite side of one of the best lockdown corners in the league. You can't afford to lose someone like that. That could be a big loss for the Pats, so keep a sharp eye on him.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with all of that. Is there anything defensively else that you guys want to cover before we switch to the offense? Good to go? All right, let's
No, I
go.
think we're good.
I
Okay,
think we
cool.
touched
Yeah.
on everything.
Yeah, no, cool. I just wanted to cover our bases here. And there's a lot of fun things to unpack about this game, right, guys? Because we haven't seen a win like this in a while.
In a long time.
So offensively, man, Drake May, incredibly. We already said it earlier. I'm going to say it again because it deserves to be said. Very efficient, really good decision making. I liked his poise. I thought that was excellent. I thought Josh McDaniels' play calling was just terrific. I mean, doing the jet sweep to Antonio Gibson from the weak side to the strong side around the corner, and then on the very next play, doing a jet sweep again from the same way, but doing a fake in misdirection to Ramondre Stevenson, I just thought was just golden. Um, I love the play that Hooper and Henry, the big splash plays that they came. Excuse me. And Diggs had a huge day. Shout out to the offensive line. I thought they were terrific. Will Campbell is so impressive to me. I mean, he's even better at this stage than I thought he was. And Steve, I don't need to tell you, but Mike, I was a huge fan of Will Campbell before he was even on the roster, and I've been super impressed with him. And you didn't even hear Campbell or Jared Wilson's name all day. I mean, the entire offensive line was good, but you didn't hear. I can't remember more than maybe one or two small instances where you heard any of the starting 5 offensive linemen's names. I mean, and that's really what you want to. That's really what you want. You don't want to hear about that. So I think what some people need to remember, and this goes for the whole team, but specifically the offense. You have a quarterback that still hasn't even played a quote unquote full season. When you collectively talk about all his games, learning is a new offense. You got a lot of new players around you. You got two rookies who are 21 and 22 on the left side, on the blind side of your quarterback. You got multiple new receivers, both who contributed today. Matt Collins with the score, Diggs with the 100 yards and 6 catches. I mean, man, I was so impressed with them. And to circle back to a point on the earlier part, Steve, is the early part of the show. I mean, I don't care if it's just against the Panthers. They could be a bottom 5 team in the league for all I know. When it's all said and done at the end of the year, and they probably will be. But to go ahead and have absolute dominance, they just needed to win the game. And they didn't just go out and win the game, they took control of it. And once that momentum shifted, they just really pressed forward and they wanted to just go. And I mean, it's clear through 4 games. And Mike, I'm going to ask you the same question here in a second. It's clear through 4 games, Steve, that Mike Vrabel is not going to hold back on the 4th and short situations. He's going to press play and go forward. And it actually shows not only trust in his players, but also trust in his young quarterback.
Absolutely, and and it comes from confidence. Now he's seeing the offense starting to come together. Is it a finished product? No, not even close. But you can see the parts starting to come together. 3 weeks in a row, Drake May's completed over 75% of his passes. Um, that is not something that happens quite often in the NFL. Um, so, he's learning McDaniel's system. And, even last week, if you take away the turnovers, they were moving the ball well against that Steelers defense. This week, not only were they moving the ball well, but they were finishing drives and they were getting those chunk plays. And one of the things that I wrote about that I wanted to see was more production from the wide receiver position because I thought, May has shown he can use the tight ends. He's shown he can use the backs. Now, Stephon Diggs comes up and, he has 100 yards. And all of a sudden, now you're seeing all these chunk plays coming in. I think we're going to see even more of those. I think Kyle Williams, like, again, I mean, we haven't even scratched the surface on his potential yet. And I think they're going to start doing that more and more. And seeing a guy like, Matt Collins, big target, he catches him in a slant for an easy touchdown and one to Hunter Henry. I love those rollouts, and you're seeing so many teams do that now. You get an athletic quarterback, you roll out, and you have either a receiver or tight end, running back, somebody that's running right along with him, and he has that run pass option. And I think that's going to work really, really well for this offense and Drake May. We saw it today. Henry's touchdown, that was a beauty. And I think that, Josh McDaniels, as you said, Derek, earlier in the show, I mean, I think this was, he put on a master class today. He had everything working right. They were getting contributions from everybody today. And that's the kind of offense that you want. It doesn't have to all be on one guy. You want 6 or 7 guys that, you can rely on that they're going to have to account for. And I think today was a really good day for them.
Yeah, I mean, going to Drake May, And Mike, I'm going to go right back to you for the same thing that I asked Steve. I mean, going to Drake May through 4 games, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 988 yards. Actually, what is that? 24 more yards than Josh Allen's even had through 4 games, just as a comparison to an elite quarterback, and 109.4 rating. So he is showing progress, and it has been impressive. Mike, your thoughts on everything that we were just discussing?
Well, from what I can see with this Patriots offense, is you're starting to see what Josh McDaniels had envisioned when he first took this job. You're seeing an open field where Drake May is utilizing the open man. He's giving the ball and spreading the ball around to the open target, and he's giving opportunities to score to multiple targets on this team. Hunter Henry, Matt Collins, all of these guys are getting their opportunity to see the end zone. He's taking it in himself. The running backs are getting involved. I like the fact that the Patriots spread the wealth on the ground today. They're not going too heavy on Ramondre Stevenson. They're not putting too much on his plate. They took a little bit of the load off today. You saw Ramondre get his touches. You saw Travion Henderson get his touches. He gets his first touchdown. Congratulations to Travion Henderson. It's a huge honor and a huge, exciting thing for a guy like that to get his moment. And Antonio Gibson also got, one on the ground as well. But the biggest stat coming out of that running back room right now, 0 turnovers. That was the main thing. They needed to play a clean game, and they did it today. And I think it's going to be interesting to see if now the Patriots go ahead and utilize that strategy more, a more even distribution of the carries among these three. Who knows if it's going to last within the next coming weeks, but it looked very effective against Carolina in week 4. I really enjoyed watching the runners kind of get their mojo back a little bit and get themselves back into the discussion of being a focal point of this offense moving forward.
Yeah, I thought one of the things that I really liked seeing from Josh McDaniels' play calling was that you could, to go back to your point about envisioning what he saw when he came back as the coordinator, was he's using Drake May's legs and athleticism to kind of roll out of the pocket and then use misdirection against the defense. And you saw that in so many different times today. And I mean, you look at Drake May's spray chart, in terms of the passes, and he is spreading the ball around, and he was finding the open guy. And, I just thought, I mean, this had to have been one of his best games. I'd have to think about it, but this is definitely in probably the top 2 of his best games that he's ever played. I just thought he was so impressive today. So, we're all excited about that. Um, let's get to final thoughts, guys, and then again we'll be back on Wednesday to have some leftover thoughts, as well as projecting the Week 5 Sunday night matchup against the Buffalo Bills. Patriots have 3 straight road games, so that'll be interesting. But final thoughts on today's game, Steve.
Well, I think this was a team they should have beaten, and they did. But the way they went about it, I thought was the most impressive thing. They left no doubt in this one, and like I said early, it's been a long time that since we've seen a Patriots quarterback being sat down late in the fourth quarter because your team is so far ahead. We haven't seen that, in a very long time. That was
4
the kind
years.
of thing. Yeah, you gotta love it, And so this is the kind of win that can galvanize the team and start uh, pushing them toward bigger and better things. And I think the coaching staff has a lot to take away from this one. And they have obviously they have a tough road next week, but stranger things have happened. So we'll see what happens. But I think overall, they have to be really pleased with the way this team rebounded this week after last week's debacle there with all the turnovers and the way they came to play. And plus, they got to win at home for a change.
Yeah, there's only, I mean, they haven't had a whole lot of wins, I mean, in
No.
general, but especially at home. So, you know, I would say, I would say that, and Mike, I'll go to you next, and then you can just take us out. But okay, but I would say my biggest thing again is how impressive it was for this young team that's gelling together and everything. You could see momentum, and you could see them be put in a tough situation early, show a little pushback, and get ready to get into a street fight, and then go ahead and just put the pedal to the floor and really just drive through. And like you said, Steve, I mean, next week's going to be really tough. Okay, none of us are going to be surprised if the Bills beat the Patriots because they're a better overall roster. Okay, let's call a spade a spade. But I do think this kind of win gives confidence to a young team. And I think if Buffalo takes them too lightly, it could be a trap game for them. So
Well,
that's something.
I'm picking Buffalo to go to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah,
However, they're not going to win 17 games. All right,
yeah.
so they have to lose sometime,
You'll
and
trip up at some
maybe
point.
next
It's
week
the
is it.
NFL. Yep, it's the NFL. So I don't know, but I think the Patriots have you know, at two, maybe arguably three of the next four games they play, I think they have the ability to win. And even if they split them down the middle, 2-2, you're talking about a 500 ball club. Now, you might not, people listening or watching later might look at that and be like, oh, big deal. They're 4-4. If they go 500 this year, or obviously it has to be 8, 9, or 9-8. If they go ahead and win 8 games this year, I'm going to be excited. If I see Drake May continue to play like this, I see guys continue to get better. I see Will Campbell have a successful rookie season, and then they go ahead and have a season where they have as many wins as they did the previous two. So, I mean, you gotta take baby steps here and go from there. So, anyways, Mike, final thoughts for you on this game, and then take us out, bud.
Yeah, I think just to wrap this game up, complete game effort. I think the offense, the defense, the special teams all came up big when you needed to. And again, I give a tip of the cap to the offense for spreading the ball around and spreading the wealth. You look at how this team broke down their first downs. 7 by rushing, 8 by passing. They're not relying on one area to move the sticks. This team can move them in multiple ways, and you're seeing that on the field. So I think a very good job for the New England Patriots offense. For the defense, continue to clamp down and continue to make plays and make your opposing offenses feel uncomfortable by knocking them off their pedestal. When the Patriots had to do that today against Carolina, they did it. And again, the special teams continues to be a spark. If they can continue to make things happen, even with big returns, even if they're not taking it all the way to the house, big returns can spark a lot, and it improves field position to the point where you give your team the confidence moving forward. All these things clicking on the same cylinders means that the Patriots are going to be going up to Orchard Park with a little bit of a spring in their step. Who knows what could happen up there? These are division games. These two teams know each other very well. Stephon Diggs' potential revenge game. He's starting to heat up just in the right time. 100 yards receiving today, over 100 yards receiving today, and a big game for him. So these are all factors to look at as we're heading into week 5. But a great win for the New England Patriots, and they definitely deserve that. And folks, we thank you all for tuning in tonight and spending some time with us on this Victory Sunday night into your Victory Monday for your New England Patriots as they take care of business against the Carolina Panthers by a final of 42-13. Doesn't it sound nice to tell that final score to all of you out there in Patriots Nation? On behalf of my Patriots Paisan and good friend Steve Balistreri, my other good friend, the great Derek Havens, I'm Mike Debate, reminding all of you to stay safe, to stay well, to be the change you wish to see in the world. Have a great day, everyone. Enjoy your Victory Monday. We'll see you back here again next time on Patriots No Huddle.